You can call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Raul Rosas Jr. takes on Vince Morales this Saturday on the main card of UFC Fight Night in Mexico City. And this is a good step up in competition for Raul Rosas Jr. to kind of see where he stands in his career and in the UFC's bantamweight division. And for Vince Morales, he might be fighting for his job in this one. He made his second run in the UFC after being cut back in 2022. Had a couple several good wins outside of the UFC. 5 wins actually to come back, and unfortunately had to meet Taylor Lapilus in his comeback fight, which he dropped a decision. And then recently coming off of a fight only like a month ago to Elijah Smith, making his debut in the UFC. Competitive fight with Elijah Smith, he just didn't do enough, didn't get it done. But Raul Rosas Jr. on a 3-fight winning streak after being kind of derailed by Christian Rodríguez, who's known to kind of derail these young up-and-coming fighters. But a lot of promise in Raul Rosas Jr. At a time, I believe he was one of the youngest fighters in the UFC, if not the youngest fighter. I'm just not sure if he's as good as we think he is, or as good as the UFC wants him to be, honestly. Coming off a decision over Arichi Lang, where he was able to get takedowns and basically control the fight. Wasn't a lot going on other than that. They had a moment on the feet where they were swinging, but Arichi Lang, not the best grappler, more of a striker coming out of China, so kind of an iffy record, 25-12. Dangerous on the feet, but not a lot happened there. Beats Ricky Turcios, which I don't really rate. He did have a good performance recently against Bernardo Sopage, who I think is really good. But Terrence Mitchell with a win, lost to Christian Rodríguez. Beat Jay Perrin by rear naked choke in his UFC debut, who was 10-6 at the time, now 13-8. I get it. He's young. He's developing. They're not going to throw him to the wolves yet, but there is a point in time where he has to start taking, a step up in competition to somebody like Vince Morales, and I just don't know if he's ready or if he's good enough to beat somebody like Vince Morales. Vince Morales has been around for a long time. He's getting up there. He's 34, but you could still consider him in his prime. He's got tons of experience. He's fought so much better competition than Raul Rosas Jr. has. He did fight Christian Rodríguez, who's very good, but he lost. And before that, he beat a guy in the Contender Series who was 7-1. All right, competition, but I'm looking at Vince Morales. Taylor Lapilus, one of the best guys that we have right now at 135 pounds. Beat a lot of good guys outside of the UFC to come back with decent records: 11-3, 11-4, 34-11, 11-5. Like, these aren't cans that he's beating outside of the UFC. Inside the UFC, before he got cut, Miles Johns, Jonathan Martinez, he beat Louis Smolka, lost to Chris Gutierrez by leg kicks, but Chris Gutierrez, kicks like a horse. He's TKOing a lot of people with leg kicks. Beat Ayman Zahabi. That's a good win in retrospect, because Ayman Zahabi's been doing really well as of late. He's on a 5-fight winning streak in the UFC. Lost to Song Yadong by decision. So he's got finished by Chris Gutierrez, but outside of that, he's fighting high level competition and losing decisions. It is concerning his last fight against Elijah Smith, losing a decision, but Elijah Smith, very good wrestler, decent hands, has power on the feet, young guy with a lot of promise. I just don't think Raul Rosas Jr. is going to be able to just spam takedowns against Vince Morales in this fight and control him on the ground. I just don't. I think Vince Morales is very good. He's got submission ability, decent wrestling, very good striking, much better striking than Raul Rosas Jr., tons more experience. 25 fights compared to Raul Rosas Jr.'s, 11 fights. Vince Morales has, probably more fights in the UFC than Raul Rosas Jr. has total professional fights. I think that Raul Rosas Jr. would have the wrestling and, the grappling advantage potentially, but when you incorporate this into mixed martial arts and there's striking and you got to worry about everything, I don't think Vince Morales is just going to get taken down and laid on like Raul Rosas Jr.'s, been known to do, or to get a finish. I don't see him finishing him. I see Vince Morales maybe dropping around by getting control, but I see him keeping it on the feet and landing the better punches on Raul Rosas Jr., who's shown a propensity to fade like he did in his fight against Christian Rodríguez. Vince Morales, I believe he trains out of Las Vegas, or maybe even like Factory X in Colorado, so be training at elevation, whereas I believe Raul Rosas Jr., I think he trains out of somewhere in California. So this fight's going to take place at Mexico City, which is like 7,000 feet above sea level. So I'm concerned about Raul Rosas Jr.'s cardio, because he has shown, he has shown to kind of slow down in fights, like I mentioned in the Rodriguez fight. And Vince Morales never really shown to have any cardio issues. The dude's tough as nails. So I'm going to go with Vince Morales in this one. I could see him finishing Raul Rosas Jr., defending takedowns, doing a lot of damage, getting him on the ground, and just kind of an accumulation of strikes and punishment gets Raul Rosas Jr. out of there via TKO. Haven't looked at the odds yet. Raul Rosas Jr. he's a minus 310 favorite over Vince Morales. Vince Morales is plus 250. Like, I get it. Raul Rosas Jr. maybe gets the takedowns, gets a submission on Vince Morales, but I just don't see it happening. I don't think Raul Rosas Jr. is as good as we think he is. I think he's still got a lot to learn in his career, but who knows? He could make drastic improvements between his last fight and this one. He is only 20 years old, but he's just a kid fighting Vince Morales, who's 14 years older, tons more experience, much tougher, more well-rounded, in my opinion, has good wrestling, better striker. So I'm going to go with Vince Morales in this one. I think he gets it done. I think he gets the finish over Raul Rosas Jr. and keeps his job. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think I'm crazy on this one, but I got a good feeling that Vince Morales kind of fraud checks Raul Rosas Jr. and gets it done in Mexico City. Thanks.